Morning America. Today we will be covering a very emotional topic. 1 out of every 4 Americans are unemployed, and the core of these problems are seen through the immense disparity between the country's productive capacity and the ability of people to consume. When the stock market crashed, it affected not only the poor, but the wealthy too. The wealthy and middle classes lost much of their wealth, and in this segment, we will be traveling into one of the impoverished homes, and we will be able to see what it is like to be affected by this Great Depression.
Today we are going into the room of someone being struck by the Great Depression. As you can see, the tough living condition of this squished apartment is very bad. In the winters, the small rooms becomes freezing, and there are many people in each of these rooms. We join the following resident who has lost a lot from the Depression and struggles to survive. Here we are with a man who's being struck by the Great Depression.
Yeah, it's been tough. I try to spend most of my time outside my room because of the nasty smells and cramped up space, but for sleeping it is the only shelter I have, and it's necessary for me to stay in if I want to survive.
Do you think that your life will get better?
I really do not know at this point. It is a really dark time for most people, and it's hard to have faith, but really I'm just trying to survive today so I can have it tomorrow.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time. I really hope it does get better for you. The Great Depression has left 15 million people unemployed, which is over 25% of the workforce. Almost 50% of the banks failed, and everyone was affected by the money loss. The U.S. manufacturing output dropped 54%, which impacted the manufacturing all over the world. Now we're taking a look at the even more unfortunate people that can't even afford houses to live in.
Because of the inefficacy of the League of Nations, France has felt abandoned by their previous allies. Will is now with Georges Clemenceau speaking about their actions during this time.
Hello, I'm here with Georges Clemenceau.
Bonjour, nice to see you.
It seems that the League of Nations has been ineffective because of your disagreement on many topics, specifically the Treaty of Germany.
Well, yes, I would agree with this. I've been meeting with Woodrow Wilson and David Lloyd in order to work on these issues.
What have been the main problems in this disagreement?
Well, we, as France, feel that Germany should be punished heavily for their part in World War I and face stricter punishments, such as taking away more of their territory and forcing them to pay more reparations. But the English and United States aren't as aggressive as we are in their policies, and this could result in big problems in the future by giving them too much leniency. And they also feel that they need to focus on their own countries before helping us with Germany.
Okay, so what are your current actions against Germany?
Well, we're constantly worried that Germany will rise up again, and because we are a bordering country, we have the most to lose. And so because of this, we are occupying parts of Germany and forcing them to pay many reparations and forcing them to abide by the terms set in the Treaty of Versailles.
Would you like your allies to join you in your occupation of Germany?
I mean, of course I would. We should all occupy Germany until they fully pay the reparation. I would much prefer an allied occupation rather than the unilateral occupancy as it is currently for the most part.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Back to Joe.
Good morning, America! My name is Joey, and we are talking about this post-World War I period for this segment. Right now, we are going to go live to Willie, who is with government correspondent John Matthews.
Joey. Now, John, thank you for being here today.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's get into the questions. Do you think America is doing the right thing by not helping the European allies and not helping them enforce restrictions upon Germany?
Yes, the combination of our struggling economy and lack of jobs makes it hard enough to live in this country.
Don't you feel a moral obligation to give help to your previous allies who are struggling currently?
Although they are struggling, we are also struggling, and I believe focusing on giving aid to the European countries is not necessary, and we need to focus on our well-being.
Can communist Russia be trusted as an ally?
I'm not sure because they are being ruled by Stalin currently. He seems to be very unfair to the Russian people, and I do not know how an alliance with him would work out. Right now, we do not feel that we need them as allies because Germany is not a big enough threat at this point. Maybe in the future we might need to align with them.
Are the isolationist policies of FDR appropriate for this time in history?
They're definitely appropriate because we are still playing a part in European policies and impacting countries throughout the world. We just don't want to completely intervene and stretch our resources too thin. As I've previously stated, European conflict would be detrimental to our country, at this point, but in no way are we completely out of European affairs. We still play a large part. We are more than interested in creating a more stable economic empire rather than being a powerful military enforcer.
Thank you for your time, John. Clearly from this interview, the United States wants to focus on improving their own country and do not consider the Germans' situation dire enough to intervene. It'll be interesting to see what happens to these policies in the future.
Good morning, America! They are calling it the new era of European peace. But can this peace really last? What are the causes of this stability in Europe? Will is with Foreign Minister of France, Aristide Briand, for those answers.
Thank you, Joe. So, Mr. Brand, could you please give us an overview of the treaty and your thoughts on it?
Sure, and obviously Locarno is great for our country and great for Europe. I definitely think that this treaty will prevent any wars from occurring in the near future. Now that Germany is more cooperative under Gustav Stresemann, Germany will follow the restrictions on their military and government more closely. Most importantly, they will be not able to increase their military force, and they cannot increase their borders.
So what makes you so sure that Germany really will comply and live under the Treaty of Locarno?
That is a great question, and one that many people fail to ask. However, Germany's compliance is reinforced in two ways: the League of Nations and the Kellogg-Briand Pact. With Germany as a member of the League of Nations, we will be able to discuss diplomatic issues that we may have with them, and we can negotiate as opposed to war. The Germans also signed the Kellogg-Briand Pact, in which all countries agreed to renounce war. This pact leads the major powers to believe that Germany is truly anti-war, and therefore they will remain cooperative.
I know that there's been a lot of problems regarding the discriminants of countries. Has there been any progress, or is the idea still up for debate?
One of the UN's goals at this conference was the mass disarmaments of countries to prevent war. And I think disarmament would even apply to places like Britain and France. I think that this is a great goal that we should work towards in the future because it would prevent conflicts, and if conflicts did erupt, they would be much smaller in size. There has been a standstill in progress, and I think that countries don't want to lose their militaries because they are skeptical of other nations. This process of disarmament would only work if everyone was on board, because otherwise countries would be too scared of one powerful country that still had its military.
Okay, Mr. Brand, thank you so much for your time. Now back to Joe in the studio.
We now go live to the streets of New York with Will, where the party scene becomes wilder by the day.
We can see at this time the streets are packed with people, all of them wanting to get a glimpse of the nightlife scene that continues to grow. With the new form of conservatism being the new ideal, the agricultural industry has been in decline, bringing various amounts of people flooding into the city streets at night in search of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Joe, we've been interviewing people all day, and their actions are what you could say, quite unorthodox. It appears we have a couple to interview.
Hey, what's your name?
I'm Will. So, how do you guys feel about the new culture that has been struck the streets? Are you guys following the crowd, or do you really enjoy it?
Boy, do I love it. It's so much more fun. For darn sakes, now I can do more than just read in my free time. This is the best change that has happened to humanity. Woo! I can go out and drink, talk to so many women, and look at her. The outfits are so much better.
Ooh, I love it too, John.
Okay, well, there you have it. This new culture is very popular among the common folk. But Joe, I still think there might be some underlying problems.
Good morning, America! The League of Nations is an intergovernmental organization which has been founded on January 10th of this year. As a result of the Paris Peace Conference, which has ended World War I, we now go to Will, who will be interviewing Woodrow Wilson, who has a key role in the League of Nations.
Mr. President Wilson, it's an honor to be speaking to you today.
Thank you, Will. Happy to be here.
So, Mr. President, what is the purpose of the League of Nations?
Its primary goals, as stated in the Covenant, is for preventing wars through collective security, disarmament, and settling international disputes through negotiation and arbitration.
So if this is supposed to be a peaceful agreement between nations, why has the United States refused to join?
Well, Will, we did not join the League for two reasons. One is that I am a Democrat, and since the Senate is largely Republican, I tend to disagree with some of my viewpoints. Due to the gravity of this agreement, Senate improvement is required, and sometimes that majority is difficult to achieve. I think that I truly know best in this situation, and I wish I could make this decision myself, but the law just simply does not allow that. The second reason is that we, the United States, have begun to practice a policy of isolationism, which is the belief that we should avoid foreign affairs. The League of Nations has called for collective security, and that means that when one nation harasses another, all the nations would act. Many members of Congress want to avoid another war at all costs, and this treaty means that some aid would be necessary. However, I think that if we join the war, or if we join the group, we would be able to negotiate and avoid war entirely.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your insight and knowledge for the rest of America on this very controversial topic. Now back to Joe in the studio.
In the aftermath of World War I, all of Europe is experiencing some sort of transition. But in foreign colonies, natives are witnessing completely new leadership styles. With the collapse of Germany and the Ottoman Empire, new territories have opened up in Africa and the Middle East, and Britain and France are taking advantage. Will is talking to a British military general stationed in Egypt for more information.
So, General, what is this new colonial period like? Are the natives transitioning well from their old German and Turkish leaders to new leaders?
I would argue that the natives here are not so much concerned with who's leading them, but rather how they are treated. For instance, they will favor a British leader, a German leader, or any other leader for that matter, that gives them more rights. As we assume power over Germany's colonies in Africa, we have also moved into and placed mandates on many Middle Eastern nations that now lack an influence from a major power.
So how are you treating these natives? I mean, do they enjoy being ruled by you?
Speaking for Britain, we used to use a policy of violence in the beginning to try and quell rebellion, but currently we are trying to move away from that policy. The government is now pursuing a policy of reform, but you will still see violence in the city as we are currently transitioning.
I want more rights, I want more rights, I want more rights, I want more rights.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. European colonies are in a time of tremendous transition, and they are struggling with equal treatment.
Thank you so much for watching this week's special on the post-World War I period. We'll see you next time.